Have you ever witnessed fate intervene in the most unlikely of moments? Picture this: Clint Eastwood, an icon whose very name is synonymous with grit and honor, sitting in a quiet, time-worn cafe when destiny delivered an encounter that would shake his soul to its core. In the next few minutes, you're about to journey through a story so raw, dramatic, and heart-stirring that you'll be left breathless. Stay with me until the end, and make sure to subscribe so you won't miss tomorrow's explosive new chapter. It was a chilly winter afternoon in downtown Los Angeles, a day when the relentless hum of the city softened into a gentle murmur, and time seemed to slow down in the refuge of an old cafe. The establishment, with its faded red brick walls, worn wooden floors, and dim lighting that cast long, nostalgic shadows, was a sanctuary for those seeking solace from the relentless pace of life. Amid the soft clatter of coffee cups and the murmuring conversations of strangers, Clint Eastwood sat alone at a corner table, his piercing eyes scanning the room as if searching for answers to questions long buried. Clint's presence in the cafe was unassuming yet magnetic, a quiet testament to decades of resilience and the weight of experience. Despite his legendary status on screen, today he wore the mantle of a man burdened by the passage of time. A man who, beneath his steely exterior, carried the scars and memories of a lifetime spent in the glare of the spotlight. His rugged features, etched with lines of hard-won wisdom, betrayed a silent melancholy. He sipped slowly on a black coffee, lost in thought, the bittersweet taste evoking memories of battles fought and victories earned. As the soft strains of a melancholic blues tune floated from an old record player in the corner, the cafe doors swung open, ushering in a gust of cold winter air. A young woman stepped inside, her presence almost ethereal against the muted backdrop of the cafe. She was dressed in worn but carefully layered clothing, a threadbare scarf wrapped around her neck, and a simple coat that had seen better days. Her eyes, large and full of quiet desperation, swept over the room before landing on the solitary figure of Clint Eastwood. There was something in her gaze, a spark of vulnerability mixed with an unspoken plea, that resonated deeply with Clint. He observed her as she hesitated at the entrance, her gaze lingering on the faded posters that lined the walls, remnants of a bygone era. The weight of her poverty was palpable, yet beneath that exterior shone an indomitable spirit. She moved slowly, as if every step was laden with the burden of 1,000 unspoken hardships, until she reached the counter to order a modest cup of tea. Clint couldn't help but be drawn to her. Something about her presence stirred a long-forgotten empathy deep within him. With deliberate calm, he rose from his seat and, without uttering a word, motioned for her to join him at his table. For a moment, the world outside the cafe faded into insignificance as the two strangers came together in an unanticipated union of fate. The air between them was charged with an inexplicable intensity, a mingling of hope, sorrow, and the fragile promise of change. As she sat down, her hands trembling slightly, Clint offered her a gentle smile, a silent acknowledgement that he understood pain, loss, and the bitter taste of life's disappointments. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and in that vulnerable instant, the barriers between the legendary actor and the struggling girl crumbled. The clamor of the cafe receded into a soft hum, leaving only the sound of their breaths and the distant echo of memories long past. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible, as if she feared the weight of her own words. Clint nodded, his eyes softening with empathy. "Sometimes the darkest days pave the way for the brightest dawns," he murmured, his gravelly voice laden with a lifetime of experience. In that moment, a silent pact was forged, a promise that even the most wounded souls can find solace in the shared warmth of human connection. As the conversation unfolded, the young woman, whose name was Lily, began to reveal fragments of her tragic story. Once full of promise and dreams, she had been forced to navigate the unforgiving underbelly of the city after losing everything dear to her. With each word, her voice trembled with the raw pain of past betrayals, lost opportunities, and the relentless grip of poverty that had stripped her of her dignity. Clint listened intently, the lines on his weathered face deepening as he absorbed every painful detail. In Lily's story, he saw reflections of his own battles, of moments when pride had collided with despair, and of the solitary struggles that even the strongest among us must endure. Their conversation, punctuated by long silences and the soft clink of coffee cups, soon transcended the ordinary exchange of words. It became a cathartic outpouring of souls, two lives intertwined for a brief, fateful moment. As Lily recounted the hardships that had brought her to this moment of desperate hope, Clint felt an overwhelming urge to shield her from the cruelty of the world. His heart, hardened by years of solitude and the relentless march of time, now beat with a renewed purpose, a fierce determination to help a fellow wanderer find light in the darkest corners of existence. Outside, the winter sun began its slow descent, casting a golden glow over the city's skyline. The café, with its gentle ambience and timeless charm, had transformed into a sacred space where destinies converged. In that fleeting moment, as the shadows lengthened and the chill of the evening crept in, Clint Eastwood made a silent vow. No matter how turbulent the storm of fate, he would stand as a beacon of hope, a guardian against the encroaching darkness that threatened to consume the fragile dreams of those who dared to hope. But as fate would have it, the encounter was only the beginning. The delicate threads of destiny, woven together by chance and compassion, were about to unravel a tale of unimaginable stakes, one that would test loyalties, challenge the bounds of hope, and force both Clint and Lily to confront the harsh realities of a world that seldom offers second chances. With a final glance at the weary yet determined eyes of the young woman across the table, Clint Eastwood returned to his seat, his mind awash with the promise of redemption and the possibility that even in the bleakest moments, the human spirit could triumph over despair. The café, now bathed in the soft hues of twilight, stood as a silent witness to the profound connection that had just been forged, one that would echo in the corridors of time as a testament to the power of empathy and the enduring quest for hope. Scene 2. The abyss of heartache and hope in the days that followed that life-altering encounter. Clint Eastwood found himself haunted by memories of that poignant afternoon. The image of Lily, the fragile girl whose eyes had held a universe of sorrow and unfulfilled dreams, became a constant presence in his thoughts. The warmth of the café, the soft murmur of shared confidences, and the echoes of her voice all merged into an unyielding call that pulled him back to that moment of serendipity and despair. Unable to shake the weight of the encounter, Clint sought refuge in the solitude of his private study at his sprawling Los Angeles estate, a haven filled with relics of his storied career. Surrounded by shelves laden with trophies, framed posters, and vintage film reels, he felt the crushing duality of fame and isolation. The study, usually a sanctuary of memories and triumphs, now pulsed with an undercurrent of heartache. Every artifact served as a stark reminder of time when dreams soared high and the promise of legacy was unchallenged. But now, as he stared at the blank pages of an old journal, the pain of unspoken regrets and lost opportunities washed over him like a relentless tide. The envelope from the café, clutched tightly in his calloused hand, became a symbol of that fateful encounter, a memento that bridged the chasm between his towering legacy and the raw vulnerability of a soul in need. Night after night, as the city outside glimmered with the lights of a million dreams, Clint found himself wrestling with a torrent of conflicting emotions. The fear of losing everything he had built, the gnawing guilt of his own past missteps, and the desperate longing to make a difference in Lily's life all merged into a symphony of heartache and hope. One particularly stormy evening, as rain lashed against the tall windows of his study, Clint sat before a flickering lamp, his eyes reflecting the sorrow of decades. The relentless patter of the rain, combined with the howling wind, seemed to echo the anguish that had long been locked away within him. In that moment, as memories of the cafe and Lily's tearful eyes came flooding back, he allowed himself to be vulnerable, to confront the deep-seated fears that had haunted him for years. The silence was punctuated by the rustle of turning pages and the occasional sigh that carried the weight of a lifetime. Determined to find solace, Clint picked up a pen and began to write, a cathartic exercise that allowed him to unburden his soul. With each word that spilled onto the paper, he recounted the story of that fateful day, the painful reality of a world that could be as cruel as it was beautiful, and the spark of hope that had ignited within him. His writing, raw and unfiltered, bled the truth of his heart, a truth that resonated with the universal struggle against despair and the pursuit of redemption. In the midst of this emotional tempest, a knock on the heavy oak door of his study broke through the solitude. It was Marie, a longtime friend and confidant whose own journey through life had been marked by triumphs and heartaches. Her gentle presence, combined with a knowing look in her eyes, was a balm to the wounds that threatened to consume him. Without a word, she stepped inside and sat beside him, offering silent support as he continued to write. In the quiet communion of shared understanding, the storm outside seemed to mirror the inner turmoil that both had come to know all too well. Marie's soft, reassuring voice eventually broke the silence. "Clint, sometimes the darkest nights reveal the brightest stars," she whispered, her words imbued with the warmth of 1,000 unspoken truths. Her statement, simple yet profound, rekindled a flicker of determination in Clint's heart. He realized that the path to redemption was not paved solely by grand gestures or public declarations. It was also found in the quiet moments of introspection, in a willingness to face one's own shortcomings and to embrace the fragile beauty of vulnerability. In the days that followed, as the storm subsided into a gentle drizzle and the city's neon lights flickered to life, Clint resolved to reach out, to seek a way to help Lily and perhaps others like her who had been cast aside by a society too quick to forget the forgotten. He began corresponding with her through handwritten letters, each one a mix of wisdom gleaned from a lifetime of experience and an earnest desire to offer guidance. Their exchange, tender and heartfelt, became a lifeline, a channel through which the echoes of past pain could transform into a beacon of hope for a brighter future. Every word he wrote was imbued with the conviction that even the most broken souls could find healing. He recounted stories of his own struggles, of moments when the world had seemed to turn its back on him, and of the resilience that had carried him through the darkest of times. In return, Lily poured out her own truth, her dreams, her losses, and the relentless hunger for a chance at a new beginning. Their letters bridged a gap between two seemingly disparate worlds, forging a bond that transcended fame and fortune, echoing the timeless truth that compassion can be the greatest remedy for a wounded heart. As the days turned into weeks, the emotional scars that had once seemed insurmountable began to fade, replaced by a tentative hope that shimmered on the horizon. Clint's private battle, his confrontation with the ghosts of his past, slowly gave way to the realization that redemption was not an abstract ideal, but a tangible, living force within every human heart. It was this force that would ultimately propel him toward the next chapter of his life, a chapter where the echoes of a fateful encounter would evolve into a movement of healing, understanding, and the unyielding power of second chances. Scene 3. The dawn of renewal. The turning point came on a crisp, clear morning when the weight of despair finally lifted, replaced by a resolute determination to forge a new path. With the support of Marie and the newfound hope that blossomed in his heart, Clint Eastwood emerged from the shadows of his private anguish to face the world anew. The cafe where it all began, now etched in his memory as a symbol of both despair and rebirth, became the stage for his ultimate act of defiance against a fate that threatened to erase his legacy. Clint returned to that very cafe, not as a solitary figure haunted by the past, but as a man transformed by the power of empathy and the unwavering strength of the human spirit. The establishment, with its time-worn charm and familiar melodies, welcomed him like an old friend. As he walked through the door, the soft murmur of conversation and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped him in a sense of belonging that he had long forgotten. At his old corner table, Clint found Lily waiting, her eyes now no longer clouded by despair, but shining with a cautious optimism. The years had not been kind, yet the adversity had also taught her the value of resilience and the beauty of hope. In that charged moment of reunion, time seemed to stand still as the two souls reconnected, united by their shared experiences and the unspoken promise of a brighter tomorrow. With a quiet determination, Clint addressed the small gathering of regular patrons and staff who had become unwitting witnesses to his transformation. His voice, steady and resolute, carried across the room as he recounted the events that had led him to this point. The fateful meeting, the storm of emotions, and the painful yet necessary journey towards self-discovery. "Today," he declared, "I stand before you not as a man defined by his past, but as one reborn through the trials that life has bestowed upon him. Every scar tells a story, and every wound is a lesson in resilience." Lily stepped forward, her presence a testament to the power of second chances. With tears in her eyes, she thanked Clint for the kindness and guidance that had breathed new life into her battered spirit. The moment was raw and profound, a declaration that even in a world that can be merciless, compassion and understanding have the power to transform lives. As the day unfolded, the cafe became a microcosm of hope and renewal. Clint and Lily, along with a growing circle of kindred souls, began organizing small community events, a series of gatherings where stories of hardship and triumph were shared openly, forging bonds that transcended societal divides. The cafe, once merely a backdrop to a chance encounter, had evolved into a beacon of light for those seeking solace and a fresh start. In a grand gesture that resonated far beyond the walls of that humble establishment, Clint decided to sponsor a local charity aimed at helping underprivileged youth find opportunities in education and the arts. His initiative, born from the deep well of his own experiences, quickly gained traction, inspiring countless others to believe in the transformative power of hope. The media caught wind of his endeavor, and soon, headlines spoke not of scandal or despair, but of a legendary actor rising from the ashes of his past to lead a movement of change, a narrative that captured the hearts of millions around the world. In the twilight of that remarkable day, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky blazed with the hues of a new dawn, Clint Eastwood took a final, reflective walk outside the cafe. The cool air and the gentle murmur of the city filled him with a profound sense of peace. He knew that his journey was far from over, that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and heartbreak, but he also understood that the strength to overcome lay within the human heart. With each step, he embraced the promise of renewal and the unyielding belief that even the most fragile of souls can rise again. And so, as night fell and the stars emerged to witness the quiet triumph of a man reborn, Clint Eastwood carried with him the legacy of that fateful day, a legacy defined not by the scars of the past, but by the indomitable spirit that dares to dream, to love, and to transform even the darkest moments into a beacon of hope for generations to come.